Chapter 11. Hello? He replied in disbelief. How? What? Who are you? Zack looked at the hologram and blinked, unsure if it was real or not. He was used to seeing holograms before. The holovision, holonet, and adverts in the streets on billboards, but this hologram was different. It was a super high definition image, and not as translucent as other holograms. If he hadn't seen it flicker in front of him, he could mistake it for an actual person. This was next level tech. Zack paused for a moment, taking it in, but there were so many questions he didn't know where to start. He stood, staring at it. You are probably wondering who I am, what this place is, and how I know you, started the old man. My name is Professor Eric Mullins, and this is my super high definition hologram. I have programmed it to be as interactive as possible, so I can respond to any questions you may have. Hopefully my artificial intelligence can help you simply by talking to it. Me. If you require more in-depth knowledge, please ask me for a menu, and the list of choices will help you find what you are looking for. A small menu appeared in a rectangle in front of the professor, scrolled through some choices, and then disappeared. Zack nodded, then realized that the hologram probably couldn't see him. The professor said, Good, now we can continue. Surprised by the hologram's response, he asked, Okay, first question, did you just see me nod? Of course, the security camera watches for your movements, facial expressions, gestures and body language, and that information is received by my hologram. Wow, that's impressive, replied Zack. How does a computer know who I am? We have met before, 30 years ago, the professor continued. This confused Zack. He didn't remember meeting any scientists when he was 10, and besides, 30 years ago, he was just a schoolchild. These days, Zack had a goatee and glasses now, and was almost twice as tall, so how could the security camera know who he was? What is this place? This is Infinity Labs, the lab of infinite possibilities, and we create new inventions for the world, and sometimes the military, replied the old man. Such as? The luminettes you're wearing, we created those, and holovision, the holonet, glow rings, anklets, the GPS taxis, the interactive mirrors, and fake windows, hover bikes, the heat exchanger chip that goes into your wrist phone 5 to make it use your body's heat to run it, and much more. More? Some things you can't explain, you just have to experience to understand, said the professor. Confused by the answer, Zack asked another question. Why have you brought me here? What do you want me to do? We need your help. Who's we? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Please use the menu function for more information. Menu. The following subjects are available for discussion. People, places, events. People. There are several sections in this category. Family, friends, school, the lab, more. Although he wanted to find out more about the people in the lab, his immediate thoughts went to someone much closer. He blurted out. Would you like to hear general information or current information? Everything. Tell me all of it, said Zack. Rebecca Louise, born Rebecca Louise King on 11th of August. She grew up in Kistowich, where she fell in love with Michael Drummond. They became high school sweethearts and married. She is the mother to James Isaac Drummond, also known as Zack, and his brother Dylan Jeffrey Drummond. The hologram continued with stories about the life of his mother. Zack smiled as he heard the good things about her. It was a loving story that his mother and father had told countless times. How they became high school sweethearts, their perfect life, and how destinies had brought them together. The professor interrupted Zack's calming thoughts with the latest information. She was arrested on 3rd November 2008 for the destruction of the Hayworth Dam on 21st May 2008 and all the lives it claimed. Now in a chemically induced coma for the rest of her life as a punishment for her crimes. Do you wish to know more information? No, Zack snapped, remembering the evil that she had done. The countless lives lost that day. The way she denied it, even though there was photographic evidence, video evidence, and witness testimony at the trial. Zack listened as the professor explained how Zack's father and he used to work together back when his father was in the military. Dad had spoken about his service to the country, but mentioned nothing about the professor. He quizzed the professor for more information, but the hologram just answered with a short statement. Sorry, that's classified. So why am I here? Zack asked with a confused look on his face. What's with all the cloak and dagger? You are here because your father and I came across a secret project that created the unthinkable, a chance to stretch the boundaries of science and experience things only ever dreamt of before. Zack couldn't believe it. Even though he hadn't got a clue what the hologram was talking about, he was in complete awe of what was going on. The confusing thing was that although the professor had completely intrigued the young man, he hadn't given any details about what it was, and Zack was still clueless. Before we continue, I need to take a bio imprint of you so that we can check if you are compatible, said the professor, directing Zack's gaze to the tables in the middle of the room. Bio imprint? He asked, with a look of confusion on his face. Yes, we use it to unlock the machine and help you learn the secrets of the past, present, and future. And this will help me find out what happened to my dad? Zack asked. The professor's hologram paused and then repeated itself. Okay, so how do I do it? Zack asked, getting impatient with all the security procedures. Just lie down on the triple scan machine and I will do the rest. A shimmering, opaque hologram of the professor laid down on the table to show Zack, then faded as Zack approached the table. Expecting it to be cold to the touch, Zack carefully sat down in the center of the triple scan. He was pleasantly surprised at how warm the table was, and as he swung round, he laid his feet into position on the end of the table and laid his head onto the shiny metal surface, contoured for his neck and spine. Okay, done. What now? Asked Zack, not sure what to expect. The professor's brightness dimmed to 25%, and he stepped back. The lights dimmed, and a bright holographic rectangular screen appeared in front of him. Zack watched in interest as a video played. Since the dawn of man, we have made mistakes, and often wish we could go back and erase them. People have theorized it, stories written about it. But we here at Infinity Laboratories have created the prototype. The prototype of what? Interrupted Zack. This prototype of the living, another timeline machinery. The video paused as the professor waited, expecting Zack to ask another question. That seems like a weird name for the machine, Zack replied, with a confused look on his face. We were going to call it the Split Point Limited Adventure Travel, but shortening it down to Splat seemed silly. So, it's the Living Another Timeline machine, which we here affectionately known as Latimer, explained the professor. The video carried on, explaining how the professor thought up the project, and how it was supposed to be all about a faster way to make clones. When the video had finished, the professor told Zach about how the machine works and that there are rules to traveling in time. So you're telling me you built a way to travel through time? Yes, but we built it differently. What do you mean? The professor closed his fists. The professor stated the rules of conventional time travel, and as he rattled off each rule, he extended each finger, counting out the rules as he spoke. You cannot occupy the same space at the same time. You can only jump within your lifetime. There are fixed points in time where you can't change anything. If your past self has an injury or is killed, your future self has a healed wound or a gravestone. You can only time travel naked. Zack pulled a face. Even if this were true, and this machine, Latimer, the professor interrupted. Even if this were true, and Latimer allowed me to travel in time, there is no way I'm doing it nude, remarked Zack. Which brings me to my next point, replied the professor, putting his hands in his pockets. These rules are supposed to be written in stone and keep time travelers safe. But what if you could break the rules? Not just one, but all of them. What if there was a way to achieve all of this? Okay. Zack paused, a million questions running through his head. The professor's hologram paused and appeared to inhale, in the same way as someone would before they gave out bad news. So what did you mean when you said it breaks all the rules? That's trickier to explain. It's probably easier to show you instead. The professor took a few steps backwards and he faded to 50% brightness. In front of him, a holographic rectangular window appeared and the video played. Zack watched the view screen. The video explained how time travel is usually theorized as one person being moved completely from one time to another and all the pitfalls associated with such limited travel. The view screen paused and the professor simply said, "But the method used here is different." The video resumed, and Zack could see a view from the CCTV camera of the professor and a young woman. Zack watched as she put a piglet on one table. The piglet lay there motionless. "That's cruel. Why did you kill that poor piglet?" The video paused. "It's not dead, merely sedated," replied the professor. The video resumed, and an archway fixed to the table moved from one end of the table to the other, gliding as if on runners. The next table then did something similar, and the cover slid across to reveal an identical piglet. Whoa! What just happened? Did you just clone that piglet? "I'm glad you asked," replied the hologram. "Your father and I used existing bioengineering cloning tech developed in the 1990s and applied it differently. Instead of growing the clone over months, we can now 3D print the cloned animal, vegetable, or mineral in less than 30 minutes. What? But that's impossible, said Zack in complete amazement. The test subject is put to sleep and then placed on the triple scan. This machine contains technology that extracts DNA, X-rays, and a skin scanning technology that is used in airports. Zack sat up so he could see the video more clearly. Then the data is saved as a complex file and kept in the storage capacitors and can be stored. This means the test subject can be cloned. The data stored, and in 20 years, Latimer recreates a clone of the subject. And it then makes a reproduction from that data. The original subject is unharmed. So, instead of moving the actual piglet in time, you can send a copy instead. Exactly. And because of this, we can break a few time travel rules. How? Asked Zack curiously. The lights brightened. The rectangular video screen disappeared. The holoprof became 100% visible and explained. In normal time travel, if your past self is injured, then your future self will end up with the same injury. However, if your clone is injured or killed, it doesn't affect you, or vice versa. This is where we break one of the time travel rules. The airport technology inside Latimer means you can wear clothes and be scanned, so you don't have to travel in time naked. Another rule is broken. That makes sense. So have you travelled through time? He asked the professor. No. My work here is too important, and besides, the information inside my head is too valuable for me to leave this place, the professor said, adjusting his glasses. How many people have used this machine? Asked Zack. So far, Professor looked at his notes. One person. Who? Sorry, the logs have been wiped, so I can't tell you that. Zack pulled a face, wondering what that was all about, but the holoprof distracted him with another video. They chatted for about 15 minutes, and Zack listened while the professor talked more about the construction of the machine. Zack thought about this for a moment. You mean I can go back or forward in time? Yes, and we want you to go back to destroy Latimer. If you do this, we will help you find out the truth of what happened to your father. Are you kidding me? Zack said angrily. I haven't walked all this way for you to show me how to break the very thing that might help me find out the truth? If you want my help, then you need to tell me what happened first. The holoprof paused for a moment, thinking. Agreed. But once you have your answers, we destroy the machine. So why do I need to destroy it? This thing could do all sorts of good in the world. Someone went back in time and caused some problems. Now we need to fix them. The only way to do that is to blow up the machine and prevent it from happening in the future. I see, said Zack. But how do I get back? He asked in a confused tone. They chatted, and the professor reminded Zack that he wouldn't go back in time, but Latimer would clone him, and the clone would be sent through time instead. In his mind, it all clicked into place, and Zack agreed. The professor showed him the correct protocol to close the machine, including a safe way to dismantle it, and that his clone would just stay there in the past, grow old, and die. Aren't you worried about the butterfly effect? You know, where I do something in the past and it affects the future? Asked Zack. Not at all. If you read later on in the book you're holding, you will see that there is no issue here, because the future is not fixed and can be changed. Another rule of time travel we can break. For all we know, someone has already gone back to your past and changed things already, and maybe helped your mum and dad get together, and you were born, said the professor with a grin on his face. Don't be stupid. That sort of thing only happens in movies, replied Zack. That did it. He'd decided he was going back to the past to help the professor and find out what happened to his father. Menu, said Zack. The holoprof repeated the choices. People, places, events, time travel. Time travel, said Zack, and he read the choices in the next menu. Open triple scan, he commanded. The arches on the table to his left slid from the bottom end of the table to the top end, and the holoprof talked him through the procedure, step by step. It explained how the subject lies down on the table and how the entire process was harmless. On the arch, a nozzle extended, positioning itself an inch away from his arm. There was a quick spray of something cold on his skin, and then Zack lost the feeling in his arm. It's okay. This won't hurt a bit, reassured the professor. His legs became heavy, and almost straight away his entire body felt the same. He tried to speak, but couldn't move his lips. He couldn't move his head, or his arms, or anything. A moment of fear swept through Zack as he realized his paralysis left him feeling so vulnerable. And then the first arch rolled along the rails on either side of him, scanning his entire body from head to foot. Another arch did the same thing, scanning this time with a different coloured light. The third arch glowed purple and made no noise. Meanwhile, the professor had put on some classical music in the background to calm Zack, giving him something to focus on inside the arches. He noticed a loud humming noise coming from the capacitor room, which grew louder and louder. The arch finished scanning him, and he noticed that the classical music had increased in volume to mask the humming. The humming noise became unbearably loud, and all Zack wanted to do was cover his ears, but he couldn't move, and the noise became so intense he felt that he would pass out at any moment. Without warning, the sound ceased, and the lab was plunged into silence.